Hello lovelies, welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me today. Today's episode is about the difference between the discard and the final discard. There's a bit of confusion in our communities about what the discard actually is and what the final discard is and what the difference is. So darlings, let's just start at the beginning. I suppose, look, we'll go back, let's just go back to the understanding of the narc cycle. So the discard is the third phase of the narc cycle. We've got the idealization, which is the beginning when, you can do no wrong. They put you up on a pedestal. They love bomb you. They at the time, think that you're going to be, you're going to fix everything for them. You're going to make everything perfect. Life's going to be so perfect with you. During that stage, they ask you a lot about them, about you. They get you to tell them everything. They get to know you. Then during the devaluation part of the cycle, this is when the shine is starting to worn off a little bit, and they're starting to see you as maybe you're not the answer to their prayers. Maybe you are just human after all. And then the discard phase is when the third part of the cycle, where they quite literally will, because they've started to devalue you, they will discard you in some way, shape or form. Now, for a lot of people, the discard actually doesn't occur. And what I mean by that is, so they are being devalued, then they have a huge argument with the narcissist. The narcissist storms off for 2 days and then comes back. Now, the victim thinks that they've been in a relationship this whole time. They do not actually realize that that was a discard. If a narcissist leaves you for any period of time, goes off somewhere else and does something with someone else, that is a discard. And then they'll come back and do the programming all over again. Put you back on the pedestal. Except you never get as high as you were the first time. Just know that. Because once they've looked at you with such disgust and disdain, it's not possible for them then to totally re-idolize you. So yes, they'll come back, they'll beg, plead, promise, they'll say they're never going to do it again. They'll say that you're the only person for them, and you'll probably take them back. That is the narc cycle right there. So the discard phase of the cycle is very different for us than it is the narcissist. So when we've been discarded, half the time we don't even know we've been discarded. Half the time we think we're just having an argument because, healthy people have arguments and normal relationships have arguments, and we think that's what's going on. We do not realize that it's different for the narcissist. In the narcissist's mind, quite literally, they're thinking they're single. They're thinking they're free. They're looking at their new suppliers. They're sourcing them. We're at home waiting for the phone call while they're out flirting with and sourcing new supply sources. So chatting up new people, essentially. And this can go on for years. I mean, literally years. The cycles are always different for everyone. Also, this is the other thing. So the narc cycle is always the same, as in idolize, devalue, discard, but the timing of the cycle and the phases of the cycle is different depending on the individual narcissist and, in inverted commas, couple. And the thing is that, the narcissist likes to keep us on our toes. They change things up, so they also change the timing for that reason as well. So, you might have, for example, 3 months of the idolization phase where everything's good, then the devaluation might happen really quickly over a week. The discard might happen over a day, and then boom, back the next day to re-idolize you. But this time, they don't do it for 3 months. This time they only idolize for a week. And then the devaluation starts hard and fast. But they keep the devaluation phase longer this time. And then the discard comes again. So they changed it up. Like I said, this is part of the intermittent reinforcement is the word I'm trying to find. Intermittent reinforcement. You know, a little bit of love goes a long way, keeping someone trapped. Oh my God. You have to excuse me. I've had a couple of weeks off over Christmas, and the fact that I haven't spoken about this stuff, my brain has been talking about other things, other words. It's like a different language, essentially. Talking about narcissism is like a different language. So you have to excuse me, my brain is just trying to catch up to what I normally talk about. So intermittent reinforcement is what I'm trying to talk about. And as I said, that's the, you know, a little bit of love, then a whole lot of nastiness, then, you know, being sweet and kind, then being mean again, then, you know, washing your car, then giving you the silent treatment. You know, it's confusing. It's on, off, push, pull, keeps you destabilized, confused, not knowing what the hell's going on. Does he love me? Does he hate me? We're going to break up. No, we're going to stay together. You know, and then half the time you spend thinking, you know, well, this is like, it's going to be like this forever. You know, you get lulled into that false sense of security as well. This is just our normal. You know, you think to yourself, oh, this is the way it's going to be. But there's always a final discard. The irony of the final discard is that it's not actually final, but it serves to it serves as a marker. So essentially what it's saying is the discard is a phase, a part of the narc cycle. The final discard is an act, as in it's something that, you know, that they do. So, for example, you know, there may be a huge row. They may drive off in their car, you know, squealing the tires as they drive out. Or, you know, they may get violent. You might have to call the police in. The final act is what causes the breakup, essentially. So the discard is part of the narc cycle, and without any kind of other supply involved. So if they don't have new supply lined up, ready to go, they'll just start the cycle again with you. If, however, they do have access to new supply and it's ready to go, as in it's been primed, they kind of work almost like pedophiles, really. They literally groom their victims. So if it's primed and ready to go, if the new supply is primed and ready to go, they will create the final discard. And they may do it, they may make it your fault, you know, so they do something wrong, but then you have to be the bad guy and call the police. Or they may just take it on the chin and be the bad guy, and walk out and leave you for someone else. You know, the final discard is basically where you are no longer their primary supply. They are attaching themselves to a new host, just like a parasite, literally just like a parasite. So they've done the cycles with you, and now they've found someone that they think will replace you, and they create the final discard, and then they start up with their new supply. So I hope that explains the difference between the discard and the final discard. They are two different things. One is a phase of the narc cycle, and the other is an act, an actual physical act that occurs to end their, like I said, their relationship with you as their primary source. There's also been some debate about, you know, how final is the final discard. And I want to be really clear on this because I think this is important. The narcissists are renowned for re-hoovering their exes, for re-idolizing the exes. But the reality is that, as I said, once they've figured you out, once they know what you're about, once you've caused narcissistic injury to them, you are never going to be idealized the way they did in the beginning. And so, essentially, if you allow them to use you some more, they will. I mean, that's just the bottom line with narcissists. They are users. They are predatory and they are users. Usury is in their nature. If you let them take advantage of you, they will. If you let them feed off of you or be fueled by you, they will. Make no doubt about that. But it's important to know that once the final discard has occurred, they have moved on to another primary fuel source. So funny to be talking about human beings as fuel sources. But, you know, once they've moved on, they have moved on. And you are now only ever going to be plan B. And you know what, darlings? Thank God they've moved on. Seriously, absolutely, 100%. Thank God they have moved on. Thank your lucky stars. Someone upstairs is looking out over you and has taken them away from you. Now you've got a fresh start at life all over again. You know, just make your life what you want it to be, because a narc-free life, you know, you can do anything. Literally, you can do anything now without that ball and chain, without that person undermining you, dragging you down, holding you down. You know, and once you actually get out there and realize just how amazing it is to be able to do things without having someone holding you down, and how much you can accomplish, you know, you're going to realize that you know, losing the narcissist was the best thing that ever happened. So for those of you who are feeling heartbroken, just know that what I'm telling is the truth.